Welcome, everybody, to the OnChain Report, where we talk with Web3 industry leaders about what's happening and where things are going. I'm your host, Carl D. Clementi, and today we're welcoming Jas Takhar, Head of Engineering for RippleX. In today's episode, we'll explore tokenization, state of adoption, and Ripple's pivotal role in getting us here. Let's go. Jas, welcome. Want to get us started with a brief introduction?
Hi, Carl. Thanks for having me on today. Yes, my name is Jas Takhar. I head up engineering for RippleX, a business unit within Ripple. Really, my background, I spent a large part of my career working in asset management at BlackRock. Then I had a stint at Salesforce working in various areas of CRM. And then just over 2 years ago, I joined Ripple and RippleX.
Great. Some really big names, especially with recent headlines in there. Really exciting to see what each of those organizations are doing to move the space forward. Even a organization like Salesforce that traditionally you might not have thought would be involved in Web3. I've heard a lot about them as well.
Right.
So great to see everybody getting involved. Especially when it comes to Ripple, I really want to set the tone for how deeply influential Ripple has been in the commercialization of blockchain technology. Can you share a little bit of history about Ripple and how your technology has been deployed?
Yes. So back in October, we celebrated our 10th birthday. So we're in our 11th year as a company. And from the very beginning, Ripple has seen itself as a provider of crypto and blockchain solutions for businesses. Our background and our heritage and our first sort of use case that we brought to the blockchain and built a business around was RippleNet, which is a cross-border payment business. That is a global payments network. It's processed millions of transactions worth billions of dollars globally. And we've worked with financial institutions around the world to address the pain points with cross-border payments. Traditionally, in the traditional system, cross-border payments are slow, they're expensive, they're error-prone. But by using the natural advantages of the XRP ledger, that is low fees, fast finality, or fast transaction processing, we've used this stack to really build a solution that solves a lot of those customer problems. For example, we use XRP, the native token of the XRP ledger, to instantly settle transactions across borders in a solution called on-demand liquidity. We are now moving beyond payments and seeing which other institutional use cases make sense on the blockchain. So Ripple really is a company that's looking for real-world use cases that are solving real-world problems to move to the blockchain and how those can be supported.
Honestly, it's really refreshing to hear that. So often we hear in the Web3 space that people are kind of chasing the hype, right? But it's really good to see when organizations kind of buckle down and say, hey, what's the real world thing that we can do? How do we actually bring this to the masses and leverage the value of it other than, the social media wave, right? In there, you mentioned the XRP token, right? For as long as I can remember, and I've been in this space a while now, there's been a fair amount of controversy surrounding the Ripple brand. So I think we'd be amiss if we didn't discuss the regulatory battles you've faced, especially, recent decisions regarding the XRP token.
Yeah, no, it's a hot topic, right? Look, Ripple has always been seen as the adults in the room. So we've always been committed to engaging in proactive dialogue with regulators around the globe. So we've seen in the UK, Singapore, Japan, and other countries who take progressive steps to provide the regulatory clarity and guidelines. We're working with those entities, and we want to work with more governments and regulatory organizations around the world. Look, at the end of the day, the proverbial genie of crypto and blockchain is not going back into the bottle. So in the US, we have a choice to keep companies and innovation onshore, with regulatory clarity, or it's going to be pushed offshore, hopefully to rigorous jurisdictions where there are, rail guards and protections for customers and users of crypto. But regarding the summary judgment around the SEC lawsuit that came out a couple of weeks ago, this is a huge win for both Ripple and the broader crypto industry. It's been nearly a 3-year battle with the SEC. The court has ruled as a matter of law that XRP in and of itself is not a security. So, if you look across the landscape, other than Bitcoin, XRP is the only digital asset with regulatory clarity in the United States. And as the judge notes in her decision, multiple foreign regulators, including regulators in Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, the UAE, and the UK, they also have determined that XRP is not a security. So, a phenomenal outcome for us as a company and the crypto industry more broadly.
Yeah, I think that's quite exciting, especially, I for a fact know more than a dozen entrepreneurs that have had ideas that have come to me that have said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing, Web3 crypto related, but I'm not sure, is it within the legal framework? Am I going to be, putting a target on my back?" And just
Right.
the simple fact of clarity, whatever that clarity is,
Absolutely.
I think unlocks a future of businesses starting up. And to your point, are they going to do it here in the US, or do those entrepreneurs just say, "Hey, it's too risky, I'm just going to go move to the Bahamas"?
Right.
Yeah,
Very good
absolutely.
point. We are seeking clarity, like I said earlier, much like many other players in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think there's a really exciting future for what's happening in the Ripple ecosystem. You guys have the XRP Ledger, and we just listed it here at QuickNode.
Yeah,
Very exciting. We've seen a lot of demand from our customers,
great
both
to hear.
enterprise and the self-service customers alike.
Yeah.
But can you share a little bit of history about what XRP Ledger is and RippleX specifically?
Yeah, so let's talk about RippleX first. So RippleX as an organization and business unit was created 2, 3 years ago within Ripple. And I describe RippleX as a group of builders and growth professionals that support the XRP ledger and the ecosystem. So what does that mean? In terms of the builders, we contribute to the open source reference implementation of the protocol, which is called Ripple D. It's the server that powers the network. So everyone go to GitHub and you will see that code and the community's contributions. Um, as well as contributing to open source, as a builder group, we participate in the public decentralized network. We run nodes as part of that network. So that's very important to us to run our own infrastructure for our own needs and also the needs of our partners. And now, as QuickNode is also offering endpoints for the XRP ledger, more partners, more um, businesses and projects that want to enter the ecosystem. It's making it a lot easier to actually sign transactions on the ledger and also gather and obtain data that's transaction data and other data on the ledger. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, we make contributions to the open source ledger. We participate in the network. And when it comes to growth, not only do we advocate for the XRP ledger as a great venue to come and start businesses and projects, due to its, like I said, its natural native attributes of low fees, low energy consumption as well that I haven't mentioned, and also fast finality. But we
Mm.
also support developers. We also support businesses. We contribute to the documentation that you'll see on the XRP Ledger Foundation pages. We contribute to various tooling, such as the Explorer, that's very, very important to developers. So RippleX's focus is just that. We're builders, just like other members of the community around the XRP ledger. And we focus on, showcasing the ledger and supporting the developers around it. So more recently, you'll see upcoming proposals, or proposals are, we'll put a foot forward in the community and say, hey, we want to contribute this feature to the ledger. And so soon we'll be proposing amendments that the community will vote on around an AMM, which will enhance the liquidity, as a new liquidity venue on the XRP ledger. We're working on sidechain technology and bridging sidechain XRPL sidechains, and also we're working on an EVM sidechain as well that will bring the capabilities of smart contracts for use cases around DeFi to the ecosystem. So RippleX, we've got a lot going on. We're very bullish. We're very excited about the future of this ecosystem. We're very excited to support the community and also the technology.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot there. So let me dissect a little bit. You had mentioned additional parties picking up and contributing, running infrastructure, right? That's so important, right? Even as a large infrastructure provider ourselves, right? We believe it's absolutely critical for more and more credible businesses to be running the infrastructure that adds to the security and the decentralization of networks, which is incredibly important. The more reading I did about XRP Ledger and seeing it level of decentralization that it has, that I think in a lot of crypto communities they're not aware of, right? And that was really exciting for me to see and learn about.
Look, RippleX and Ripple as a company, we're members of this public decentralized community, and it's very important for everyone to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned AMM, right?
Yeah.
What is that acronym for those out there who may not know?
Yeah, AMM is an automated market maker. It's another venue for trading, and it requires liquidity. So it's another venue for folks who own certain cryptocurrencies to generate yield by being a liquidity provider. But it's a very important part of the liquidity story for the XRP Ledger. It has the XRP Ledger was built with a native DEX. So a lot of the chains that you hear about that have DEXs are really, those DEXs are implemented in a smart contract. But from day one, the XRP Ledger has a native DEX built into the protocol. The AMM is going to be similar. The proposal that we have and the proposal that we'll be making to the community is an AMM, an automated market maker that's native and built into the protocol.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm really excited to get into that a little bit more too. Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned things like side chains that people are building in your ecosystem. People, I think a lot of times they'll be familiar with the Ethereum ecosystem where most of the side chains, layer twos, whatever it might be, they're all about helping scale the layer one, right? Because they have scaling issues. But in the case of XRPL, would it be accurate to say that the side chains are more like maybe stacks on Bitcoin where their goal is to add functionality?
I think so. I think that's a good way to visualize. It's not a one-to-one mapping in terms of concept, but it sort of takes you some of the way for sure. But let's just talk about the EVM sidechain for 1 second. So the XRP Ledger has native programmability. It's just not Turing complete like a smart contract is. And the original architects of the XRP Ledger came up with a set of transactors, as they're called, that provide a significant level of security and safety. If you look at a lot of the hacks on large chains, some of them have been due to vulnerabilities that were just built inherently into smart contracts. Well, not inherently, were exposed because of how a smart contract was programmed. Let's just say it that way. And so there was a decision not to have that full programmability layer by the original architects, but to have these transactors that go a long way, together with the native feature of the ledger, such as the DEX, that go a long way to bringing the features that are needed in a modern blockchain optimized for payments. However, there is an incredible movement around smart contracts. There is a need and an ask for full programmability within the XRP Ledger. The community knows about this, but you'll soon be seeing an amendment proposed by the XRP Labs folks around hooks that also brings programmability. But having an EVM sidechain, we feel, brings a larger crypto community to the XRP Ledger ecosystem. The goal is for smart contracts to be like lifted and shifted from other protocols and onto this sidechain and provide those DeFi capabilities very easily and very portably to the XRP Ledger ecosystem.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you don't necessarily have smart contracts. On something like an EVM chain, smart contracts are what enables people to launch fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens. How are those possible on XRPL without smart contracts?
Yeah, so look, the paradigm of the XRP Ledger has always been security and safety, and therefore to build features natively in what the community feels is a very secure and safe manner, like I just mentioned. And so on other chains, NFTs, for example, are minted through smart contracts. What we proposed last year and the community voted to activate it was an amendment to add NFTs. The amendment's called XLS20. You can look that up, to add a native object, a native NFT object directly into the protocol itself. So when you mint an NFT on the XRP ledger, you're actually creating an object, in the memory or the state of the ledger. And so it's a very different paradigm. It's, the XRP ledger, again, due to the need or the desire to minimize the attack surface area, if you like. The architects went for native features, much like the DEX that I just mentioned.
Yeah, and I can imagine the value of that, where you have this really aggravating user experience on EVM chains where, oh, hey, let's say I want to be able to buy an NFT on OpenSea. I
Right.
have to wrap my ETH so that it
Right.
can interact at the smart contract level. That's a huge, horrible problem from a user experience perspective. And you have this weird IOU to be able to say, hey,
Right.
hopefully someday I could go from my wrapped ETH back to Ether, right?
Right.
But when it's at the native primitive level, I
Yeah.
can imagine that you'd be able to avoid that type of thing.
Yeah, look, it's all about user experience. It's about safety. It's about having guardrails. Um, there are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches.
Of course.
Like I said, the paradigm of the XR ledger is to have many primitives, many features at the protocol layer, and therefore NFTs are at the protocol layer, and was activated in October of last year.
Yeah, and I can pull it up really quick, but I did also see that there was a really exciting NFT project that launched with you guys recently. I believe it was Ducati, right?
Yes. Yeah. Look, there are various partners and there are various businesses that are also very excited about NFTs and how it can enhance their business. And Ducati is a significant, player in the area of motorcycles, and a great brand to come to the XRP ledger. So we were very excited when they made that decision.
Yeah, I think when there's brands of this level of quality that are choosing your ecosystem to build in, that says a lot.
Yeah, it does. Like I said, Ripple as a company and the community as a whole were very proud to see such a brand mint their NFTs on the XRP ledger. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So maybe on the fungible token side, right? There's the value of being able to spin up fungible tokens and the concept of maybe tokenization, right? Can
Yes.
you explain a little bit about what exactly tokenization is and the work that you guys have been doing to enable that?
Yes. In general, tokenization is the representation of real world value on a blockchain with tokens. It's an area we're very excited about. I personally am very excited about it. Like I said earlier, my background has been in traditional finance or traditional asset management. And I see a world where there's a migration of real world assets to the blockchain. There's elements of traditional finance in terms of equities and bonds that can be tokenized and are being tokenized as we speak. Tokenization always also allows individuals to have fractional ownership in assets or fractional ownership in real estate, for example, that otherwise they couldn't have. And the fractionalization of these real world assets need to be traded. So hopefully there's lots of liquidity in very liquid venues where I can own a fraction of an asset and also be able to trade that token as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, a good example that I've always heard around the liquidity is around things like property, right?
Right.
Property titles. You
Real
have
estate.
a property that's for sale, maybe in an emerging market, right? Let's say Tulum in Mexico, right? And everyone knows that this is now the new Instagram tourist spot, right? But if, some person in, let's say, Singapore wants to invest, right? How are they going to know about that property being available? How are they going to actually be able to
Right.
work with local entities to make that happen? Well, if it's as simple as a token on a DEX
You're
that
right.
is native to your chain, right? That all of a sudden adds a ton of liquidity and
Right.
potential for anyone listing on there.
Yep. Incredible breadth of ownership or potential ownership there, right, on a decentralized exchange, like you just mentioned.
Absolutely. So I did mention Singapore, right? Are there regulatory hurdles that people you need to go through to be able to enable the tokenization future that we're all hoping for?
Yeah, back in June, Ripple obtained an in-principle approval of a patents license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And what this does is allows us to offer regulated digital asset products and services and scale customer use of, for example, our ODL offering.
Hmm.
We're very excited about this. Like I said, we're the adults in the room. We're working with various regulatory bodies around the world. And it just shows how global the regulatory landscape is in terms of crypto innovation and how much more innovation and how much more regulatory guidance is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've heard ever since I've been involved in crypto, everyone's talking about the concept of tokenization. Everything can be a
Right.
token, right? This,
Yeah.
we're going to tokenize carbon credits. Sounds interesting. Does it work in the real world? I don't know, right? Let's tokenize mortgages. Let's tokenize this. Let's tokenize that. Let's tokenize the apartment that I'm living in and be able to resell that, right? Like, what are the real solutions that make the most sense, that actually when rubber hits the road are going to make sense, right? And what maybe is live today?
Yeah. Look, let's just take a step back. There are a number of reports from some very reputable organizations that are talking about the future of tokenization. For example, the Boston Consulting Group have predicted that there's going to be $16 trillion of tokenized assets on blockchains by 2030. And they predict that's going to be 10% of global GDP. Like I said, the genie is not going back in the bottle. And, this technology, the concept of tokenization is going to be embraced, wide scale, we think. And so, in terms of the use cases I'm most excited about, and I think that a lot of these organizations are predicting as, the financial assets, I mentioned them earlier, like bonds, security, FX. You've just mentioned carbon credits, and you mentioned real estate earlier. So, you think about an asset, a security, or some other, store of value or representation of value, we really see it as an incredible use case for tokenization. The question is often asked, like, why? Why do we need to move the world of traditional finance onto blockchain? But look, we know there are pain points in the current system: slow settlement times, high fees, manual and siloed processes, as well as lack of transparency and liquidity. All of the things that blockchain and crypto are built to help simplify and solve. Um, yeah, look, very, very bullish. We're very bullish as a company. I personally am very bullish as an advocate of tokenization on blockchains, and I think the XRP Ledger is a great venue for tokenization because of the natural attributes that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, yeah. What are some maybe examples that are live today that you're really excited about?
Yeah, look, I think it's very interesting that Goldman Sachs recently launched a tokenization platform. I think it went live back in January this year, and the first product is a $100 million Euro 2-year digital bond. I'm also very excited of the private equity firm KKR tokenizing its latest health fund. I think it's about $400 million fund, a $400 million fund that's been tokenized on Avalanche.
Hmm.
Very, very exciting. There's lots of real world, heavyweight organizations that are dipping their toes and going full on into tokenization. And we're going to see more and more of that. In terms of real estate and the XRP Ledger, there's LoanSnap. They've issued a stable coin that's backed by mortgage-backed securities. Very exciting to see. And then also, we've talked very briefly about carbon credits. The global carbon market has long been plagued with a lack of transparency to pricing and market data, and tokenization can help verify the legitimacy of carbon credits, hopefully accelerating the shift towards the green economy and making sustainable value chains a real possibility. So very excited about that also.
I do think the carbon credits one is very exciting, where the liquidity and demand,
Yeah.
as that grows, that has direct positive environmental impact,
Yeah,
right? So it's through enabling this, there's this secondary value that you end up bringing to the table, which
correct.
is really exciting, especially in a space where maybe some of the mainstream conversations are about how bad the blockchain is for the environment.
Correct. And, there's plenty to read about the XRP ledger being energy efficient, given it's not proof of work or proof of stake based. So this chain is living and breathing that ethos as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else, right? For an organization to adapt blockchain for tokenization, is it as simple as just, leverage saying, hey, I'm going to issue some tokens and that's the end of it? Or is there more that they need to be thinking about and maybe more parties that they need to be involving in the discussion?
Yeah, look, I think it's all about providing an incredible customer service and really addressing the inefficiencies and pain points in the current system. So, like I mentioned earlier, the speed and efficiency. Transactions on the XRP ledger, for example, can settle within seconds, several seconds, which is the current block creation time. Low fees, obviously, low fees is a very important aspect, an advantage that tokenization brings to this use case, and the whole nature of decentralization from issuance to the DEX and the trading and the liquidity nature of tokenization on blockchains.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, tokenization is not just for itself or not just a use case. It's not just a use case looking to go to a different type of technology. This technology is really addressing real pain points and real fundamental friction in the system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, so once you do get to the point of tokenizing, are there other primitives that people need to be thinking about to be successful in this endeavor?
Yeah, primitives is a good word. We use that a lot internally at Ripple. And the primitives that we talk about are what are the other services around tokenization, for example, that you need, that we also see in the world of traditional finance, that we need within the world of crypto. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the primitives that we always talk about that are very necessary are custody, compliance, and the ability to bring liquidity to the various trading venues that I just mentioned.
Right. Right. Yeah. I can, custody is a huge one,
Yeah,
right? Especially with tokens where and access to the liquidity, right?
yeah,
So with tokens, you end up having this situation of, oh, can I get listed on, Coinbase or, whatever it might be? And that listing gives you access to that liquidity. Yes, the DEX is valuable, but the amount of liquidity that you unlock when you get to the
yeah.
centralized exchanges is a huge difference. You can't just go. Hopefully, one day we'll get there, but you can't go to Charles Schwab and buy, your ERC20 tokens or
Right.
whatever it might be yet.
And Ripple as a company has really put its foot forward in this space with the acquisition of Metaco recently,
Mm.
an institutional custody provider.
That's really exciting, especially because custody is a huge risk for people. And I think there's some really exciting emerging technology like multi-party custodians, things along those lines. But I think that's a topic for another day.
You bet.
So, Jas, it's been great chatting with you. What I always like to ask people is, who else would you suggest that I have on this call? Who's doing things that are interesting? Who's an innovator in this space, and would contribute to the conversation?
Good question. Look, definitely see if you can get hold of Aaron McDonald and Shara Senderoff from Futureverse. We recently took part in a $54 million funding round with them, but they're building a AI metaverse, and they've built a root network. It uses XRP as a gas token. It's integrated with the XRP Ledger. They're minting NFTs on the XRP Ledger. For example, they recently minted a whole host of NFTs for FIFA, the Footballing Federation. And also, I think somebody good to have on your show would be Yana Novikov. She's my product counterpart within RippleX. A huge amount of knowledge and experience in the world of crypto and blockchain and Ripple more specifically.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks very much for joining, Jas. If you want to share where our audience can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, but also please check out Ripple on Twitter. So at Ripple, also at RippleX Dev, and you'll find out a lot more about the work that RippleX is doing, as well as more broadly about the XRP Ledger. And it would be a big miss of mine if I didn't call out Apex, our developer summit, which will be held in Europe for the first time this year. And this is where developers, partners can get together, learn more about what's happening in the ecosystem, hear from developers, and also find support from developers that are already in the ecosystem, contributing and participating in the XRP Ledger. That's going to be held in Amsterdam this year on September the 6th to the 8th. I'll be there. I look forward to seeing everybody there. It's going to be a phenomenal conference and a great way to learn about the ledger and also connect with the community.
Love that. Love the idea of boots on the ground, people fingers on keyboard, all in the same place at the same time. I'm going to have to get the wife to approve a little trip to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
I'll see you there.
Thanks a lot, Jas.
Thank you very much.